Hi guys, welcome to this episode of the Comedy Defect Podcast. This is the Comedy Defect Podcast, TCDP. Sounds like something you should be rubbing on your knee. They say it won't hurt, but it does hurt. But this episode will not hurt because this is a great episode, episode 33, with Simon Lilley. Simon is a very good friend of mine. He took a fringe show up in 2013, which he got a 4-star review on. But that run did not go according to plan. It went very badly the first day, which we talk about here on the show. We also talk a bit about Simon's personal life. He's going through some stuff at the moment. But he's a lovely fella. A lot of time for Simon. He runs a bi-weekly gig at the Duchess of Cambridge. But what's been going on with me? Well, I am getting through a gauntlet of lists. I'm finding out that multitasking is not my forte. That is definitely not my forte. I feel like that I'm stuck in that film, The Cube, and every room is just a task that I have to do, and it's just slowly, it won't kill me quickly, it'll kill me slowly just with stress. And I'm trying to get my teeth into some stuff at the moment. I've got my Edinburgh Fringe show coming up, and I'm previewing that, and I'm trying to get stuff done, but things keep falling in my way. But that is what's happened. I'm getting through it. I'm doing it. If you like this podcast, you can follow us on Twitter. We're there at The Comedy Defect. If you want to follow me, I'm at WinterPhoneAnder. If you want to come see my live stand-up gig dates, which I'll be previewing a fringe show for 2017, which is the year we're in, you can come see those live stand-up gig dates on my website, which is, of course, winterphoneander.com. That's right, winterphoneander.com. If you didn't get it there, come see the dates there. Come see me live. Come talk to me. If you like this podcast and you feel like you want to donate something to us, go to Patreon. Just type in The Comedy Defect Podcast and donate as much or as little as you want. But hey, if you can't donate anything, leave us a nice honest review on iTunes or Podbean. That's all that's been going on in my life at the moment. Just trying to get through lists, trying to get stuff done, trying to get things organised. Yeah, I've no time for the chaos. I've no time for the world's chaos at the moment. I'm just trying to get through my own lists right now and hammer together this fringe show for 2017. I say, come see it. Dates are available on the website, which is winterphoneander.com. Come see it there. And I'm also getting through that Guinness Encyclopedia. The jokes for that will be on the internet, on Twitter, at Guinness Jokes. And the title for that is Encyclopedic Jokes. If you like those, like them, share them, yeah, why not retweet them? But this is episode 33 with a very good friend of mine, a very funny guy. As Brendan Burns would say, fucking great. Simon Lilley. Simon Lilley.
Hello.
Welcome to the Comedy
Oh,
Defect.
thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. Yeah. Things are all right on the whole. You have to say that. There'll be people listening, and I don't want to depress the hell out of them. But it is actually Blue Monday today.
Oh, it is right.
So an honest answer.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right.
Doing okay.
Considering all things considered. Yeah.
You don't want to give away your fringe show just yet. You want to
No.
It's not fully worked out yet.
No, I haven't got one.
We got through Friday the 13th.
Yeah? Oh, I didn't realise. Friday 13th followed by Blue Monday.
Yeah.
I only just found out today it was Blue Monday, actually, because I noticed it on the train. There was a brilliant advert for Netflix written by Lemony Snicket. I don't know if you're familiar with Lemony Snicket, but it's superb. But I won't bore you with that, but it was so brilliantly done. The best bit of advertising I've seen for a long time.
Wow.
Totally drew me in, because I didn't know it was an advert. There was absolutely no brand on it at all. I suppose there was kind of like a faint watermark of the Netflix kind of emblem, but that was it. All right, all things considered. I mean, my life's all right. My wife's all right. She's had this horrible thing called chronic fatigue syndrome. She's still got it. So it's turned my life upside down, and everything's changed in our world, because she used to be, incredibly active person. She was a GP. She used to work hard doing, loads of stuff, and she's an artist as well. She's been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. It sort of gradually happened, but we got back from a skiing holiday a couple of years ago. So it was 2015. We got back from skiing, and we both had viruses. And it I don't know if you know anything about ME, chronic fatigue syndrome.
Oh, the same thing I was going to ask.
Same thing as ME.
Right.
Yeah, they don't call it ME anymore because it's technically not. Whatever ME stands for, it's not that. Because that's something to do with the signals to the brain that it doesn't actually do. Chronic fatigue syndrome, which is a woefully inadequate name actually for what it is, because people just think you're tired all the time. But it's a lot more than that, and she has horrible sort of flu symptoms, and So she'll get headaches and sore throats and back pain and neck pain and she's feeling cold all the time. You know, even you have to crank the heating up. She gets sweaty. And, you know, appetite gets bad. She's nauseous. It's a horrible, horrible illness, and no one really knows what to do about it. You just have to manage it. So that's changed everything in our lives. I'm sort of working out how to bring the money in and so on. But you asked how I am.
No, that's true. That's real, man. No, that's it. Jesus, man. So it's a lot to take on.
Seriously, I mean, like, we've got so much hope. You know, hope is a really big thing in our lives, and you know, the reality of hope. You know, because difference between hope and optimism. You know, and I just think actually we're going to come through this, and she's going to come through this, hopefully sooner rather than later. But
I mean, you just got to wait it out. Is that what it is?
You have to wait it out. You have to just be very, very careful about what you try and do, because people generally got this illness through doing too much, through stress, through trauma, and through physiologically. You get it as a result often of a bit of a whammy of viruses, you know.
Right.
So
perfect storm of
so you just got to be careful to actually. You do have to change your lifestyle, I think, and you know, and her lifestyle at the moment is to just be in bed most of the time, and do what she can. So you know, she might be able to see someone once a week. We had Christmas recently. We had it in our place. We've never done before. You know, we've been married for 15 years now. But we never had Christmas in our own home. We've always been at her parents and my parents. And for the first time in our lives, we had Christmas at home, and we were just going to be on our own because she couldn't cope with, you know, just having too many people around. We managed to accommodate people, and you know, with the use of our next door neighbour's flat, so that was nice. And so we managed to accommodate a bit of family, and we had a lovely Christmas, but it's just taken it out of her. Yeah. She pays for it, you know. She overdoes it, and she tried really hard not to overdo it, but she tried really hard not to, but she did, and you know, I probably didn't help. You know, she's a massive introvert anyway. And I wouldn't say I'm an extrovert, actually. I'm quite, you know, but I'm compared to her, I'm a massive extrovert. You know?
Like to dabble.
I like to dabble. That's it. I like that. You know, the idea of us having Christmas on our own horrified me. You know, not because I don't like her company. It was simply that I just want to be around people. Yeah. You know, I do family, and you know, no matter what you think of your family, I wanted them around. You know. Yeah. So there you go.
How many did you have over in the end?
Well, we had Joe's parents over and her brother, and then my mum and dad came just for one night, but the others stayed for 3 nights, which was a lot. That really did take its toll in the end. But I would have liked them to have stayed for longer, you see. But, you know, I love Christmas. I love holiday. I love festivals. I love celebration. And, you know, and I actually feel sad that we take our Christmas decorations down too early. I was talking to a Polish lady who she was having a real go at me because I helped to remove this giant church Christmas tree. She was cleaning there, and she said, "Why have you taken this down? It's too early." And she was angry. She was livid with us. Yeah. And she said, "This church looked so beautiful before, and now look at it." No. She said, "In Poland, you know, everyone keeps their Christmas trees up for a good month or so." And I thought, that's right. It should be like that, because January is a rubbish month.
Bit of cheer. You need to carry on the cheer a little bit.
Why don't we just keep the festivities going for a lot longer? You know, I mean, like the whole thing of, I wish it could be Christmas every day. You know that. Yeah, they've got a point. It shouldn't be Christmas every day. We should stop in February rather than the beginning of January. Beginning of February, we can start to feel the spring in the air. You know, that is where the change comes. Beginning of January, we might be getting a bit of snow if we're lucky. What else have we got to look forward to in January? Nothing. Yeah. So
we need something to pick us up.
So if I was Prime Minister, I would actually legislate for this. I would actually I'd say, let's do away with this whole 12 days of Christmas rubbish, whatever it is. Wherever we draw the line, we make it official that all decorations come down at the end of January, not the beginning. Would you vote for me?
Well, with this political landscape, you could probably get that passed as well.
It would be an important part of my campaign.
We took our decorations down on the 1st of January.
Oh, that's way too early. Frighteningly early.
It was pretty early. It was like we had the lights up and then we took them down. It was like, oh, they only went up about a couple of days before.
Yeah.
Then I never felt more like a dad though when I was putting the lights away and Priya was like, Winter, now, you see, I've got this star and I've got this other star and this set of lights doesn't work. Can we put this star and this star on this other set of lights? I was like, yeah, we could do that. We could do that. So I sat...
And you fitted a fan to it, didn't you?
I did it. And I did it as well. And I was like, oh, wow, this is what it is. This is what dad mode is.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try and do it.
Well done.
And I was really impressed with myself. Yeah. I even left the switches on. Not that you would need them, because you just need them one switch to turn them on. But I've got 3 switches on this, so I can, turn one on, turn one off. And so it's at that moment, every time you take it out.
You've got to go through the options. You've got to at least be able to show people what it could look like.
Exactly, health and safety. Maybe you don't want the star, 1 star on. Maybe you want 2 stars. Maybe just want the 2 stars and not the candelabra. No. You just want maybe it just depends. You could do a little semaphore thing, couldn't you? Contacting your neighbours. Look, I've got switches just to show off, Because, but it was great. And I was like, I just wanted to leave the switches on, but I was proud. I'm still proud. You can hear it, can't you? You can hear that I'm still proud of this.
Good for you.
So that you're busy at the moment. You're with your wife.
Yeah. So it is. I can't underestimate the importance of actually having to, take that into account. I've always been wary of being, sort of a driven kind of a person, and I've gone too far the other way. I actually, think that work isn't everything. And I think that in relationships are the most important thing in life. Full stop. I'm very struck by the fact that Graham Taylor, who's just died, rest in peace. I'm a Watford fan. I grew up around Watford area, and I went to the football on Saturday, just 2 days after Graham Taylor had died, and the tributes to this bloke who, was a driven man. He was very determined. He went from managing a small club, Lincoln City, then to a slightly bigger club, Watford, or he made it a bigger club, and then Aston Villa, and then England manager. And he failed dismally as an England manager, and it was painful to watch because of the way the press humiliated him. And yet, on his death, the tributes that were made towards what a man he was, because he invested in people. And I believe that actually, relationships is just the most important thing in life. I've no idea what his belief system was, whether he believed in more than just the here and the now, or and where he is now. I've no idea. But the point is that I've personally never been someone who would be allow work to come between me and the important things in life and relationships. And my wife, is the most important human relationship that I have. So I've now got to take seriously that actually I do have to factor in looking after her and being with her, spending good time with her into my life. But at the same time, in honouring her, I have to be more successful at what I'm doing and making the money and provide basically. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Yeah, so it's an interesting year ahead, because it's kind of like the reality of it has just been slowly dawning on me over the course of the time that she's been ill. It's actually not all doom and gloom. It's an opportunity, and it's actually it motivates me. With Joe getting ill, it motivates me to get better at comedy and to actually sort of get my name out there and so on. Yeah,
that's it. It's an engine. You've got to
Well, it is really. Yeah. And she's always been such a massive support. When she was a doctor, she was a full-time doctor for a while. Well, she loved medicine. Obviously, you have to love it to an extent to be able to get through the exams and qualify. She fell out of love with medicine. In the last 10 years, actually, it goes back a while, she had bad experience with GP surgery that she was working for, and the guy who was there, single-handed practice, and he was a tyrant. Right. Really. I mean, he bullied her and... He treated others badly, but it was subtle, because effective abuse often is. She fell out of love with medicine. She was earning reasonable money and she was able to really support me, financially as much as anything. And she's still my support.
Yeah, great.
Because she totally believes, even though it's taking me a long time to really sort of get to where I want to be in comedy, she still believes.
Great. That's what you need. That's all you need, man.
It is.
That's it. Someone to kind of just like give
you
supportive
relationship.
Yeah, that's it. And that's why I married my wife. You need that in your life because no one else is going to give that to you. Once you find that person that's going to give it to you, you're just going to hold on to that and hopefully make it the best it can be. Yeah, that energy you funnel into creativity is really quite destructive if it's not used correctly. You see it on all these people who go to these insurance companies working there, and they're like, oh, they're so miserable, and they hate their lives, but they just go, okay, look, this is what it is. I'll accept my fate. This is what I'm going to do. They live that lie of this is it. This is fine. This is what life is. I don't have to like it, but this is what it is. But and they never change it. They never take that leap and jump off that thing. That's why I think that creatives are a lot more happy because you're taking risks every day. Because you're like, I might not eat today.
I think the potential for creatives to be happy is enormous. I was talking to someone after a gig only a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying everyone is an artist, everyone is a creative, and he said, no, I don't agree. He said some people are not artists. That's why they're driven by money. They're in finance. That's what they're seduced by. That's what turns them on. That is their value. And I said, well, I don't question that's what it's become for them. But I think that everybody is an artist. But people who are creative and know that they're creative, have this enormous opportunity to make life feel worthwhile. And I feel, as comedians, you go on stage and you're talking to people who half of them really do hate their jobs. I was in a job that I absolutely hated.
What was your job?
I've done loads of rubbish jobs basically, but I'm incredibly old now, 46, and it's not old. Of course it is, but the point is, no, it's not old. It's old for me because I've always been younger. Oh yes, what a line!
Always working.
The thing is, I've done loads of rubbish jobs because I never really wanted to be anything other than when I was at school. I just wanted to perform in some way, shape, or form, and I didn't know what exactly. But I somehow ended up a few years ago, a good 10 or so years ago, just before I got married, actually, in an office job, the dullest office job you can imagine, shifting paper, using a photocopier all the time. But just being on the phone to dull people, commercial estate agents, they were our clients. And it was just like, it was doing my head in, and I could see how people rocked. Bits of me were dying, and I was aware of it. I'd go to the pub, watch football games with my mates, go home, get up, and go to work. That was my life for a while. It was an interesting insight into how I didn't want to be, and I knew, and somehow I managed to always remain slightly detached from it, and that's why I was crap at the job. They must have been so quick. They were so keen to get rid of me, I think, but they didn't because the guy gave me the job with a personal friend of mine. So it was awkward.
That's great. You're stuck in there. It's like, I'm staying.
So, but I'm so glad I had that job. Actually, looking back on it, because I know what people go through. I know what it's like to be in a job that you absolutely hate. And I have to say, I used the word bullied already at work, but I was made to feel very unwelcome when I got there by these two women, who really sort of like they did like to bully people, and I particularly because the guy gave me a job, gave me a slightly senior position over one of these women who was really sort of like, she was a bitter woman, and what a baptism! I mean, just to come into that and to have these two people who were really sort of like against me. I spent 3 years working in that company, and in that 3 years, I feel like I've had my fair share of crap jobs, but I've done loads of other stuff. Nothing that I've ever been really proud of, and nothing that I've really wanted to give myself to in the same way that as performing and writing. I used to be in a band, so I used to love, I haven't written any songs for years. I was a lyricist. My best friend and I would sort of team up, and he'd do the music. I was the Bernie Taupin, he was the Elton John. I think that's how it goes. Another Watford reference. So I would do the lyrics. He'd do the music, and we came out with some really nice stuff actually. Which one day, when people have heard of Simon Lilley, they'll be desperate to get hold of these recordings of my music. But the point is, I used to love it. I love any creative writing and performing, and I always knew that I wanted to do that. I wanted to be an actor for a while. Tried to get into drama school, failed several times.
Where did you apply?
Lambda, Webber Douglas, Central, a place called the Drama Centre. I don't know if it's still there. I may have applied at the Arts Ed School, which is near where I live now. Can't remember if I applied at Guildhall, but I tried a few of the big ones. I didn't do RADA for some reason. I think it just sounded too snooty. That's why I never went to Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah, screw those footlights. Was it? What monologue did you do?
Well, one of them I remember writing my own for Central. I actually wrote my own, and that's the one I really remember doing because I did a monologue about cleaning the bathroom, which was probably one of the start of my stand-up actually, because it was observational. I just thought, actually, I really love this. It was the idea of, because I was living in a shared house with people who didn't clean the bathroom, and I just did a monologue about how men are actually more effective at cleaning the bathroom because they know better where the urine has gone. So that was the basis of my monologue. I remember doing something I think I did something from Hamlet, and I remember getting some coaching from this voice coach who helped me through it, and I thought it was going to be, I thought it was a winner, and she totally said, yeah, you're in. Yeah, sad, eh? And I remember singing a song. I remember singing a song from The King and I.
I tried to get into acting as well.
Did you?
I finished my degree,
and
I applied to like everywhere I could. I don't know why. I didn't have the money to go to college. I couldn't get a loan, whatever. So I did my degree in video.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, you know what? I've been doing some acting in the video. I was like, well, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
Let's give this a go. And then went and did I went to these auditions. I'd never auditioned for anything ever in my life, and I was like about 22, 23, and auditioned for the Birmingham School of Speech and Drama. I did a Cockney. I got that book of male monologues. Man monologues, monologues.
Yeah.
And so I got that book, and I was like, this one sounds fun. Oh yeah, I'll do this one. It was in a Cockney accent, right? And I got like about maybe 4 lines into it. They went, no, stop.
You said that.
No, they said
they stopped you 4 lines in.
Yeah, they were like, no, just stop. Look. And I was terrified. I was utterly terrified. And I said to them, it's my first audition, I said. And the guy asked me, because you could see how terrified I was.
Yeah.
And he said, look, how you doing? I said, I'm fine. It's my first audition. So I told them. He said, look, they said, stop, just tell us a story. I got the second audition.
Oh, you got through?
I got through, but I think it was just oh, bless,
Yeah.
But they were nice. So I got through to the second audition. And then they had to sing as well. And I'm tone deaf. I cannot sing at all, and so did the thing. And they were so nice to me as well. They were so nice up there in Birmingham, and I was like, oh, they were like, oh, you've got a really nice voice, just don't use it. It's like the opposite. If you look at that, it's like, you have a nice voice, but I think you should keep it.
That's brilliant.
So I get it. I was like, because I need to perform. I need to be up there. I'm great behind the camera. No, I want to be in front of it.
That's so funny.
So you started performing. You performing in school as well. What was the plays you did?
Oh yeah, I did actually. It was actually doing Midsummer Night's Dream at school that I really got into acting. I was actually studying economics, English, and computing, and then we did the play. And I got so into it and thought I was so brilliant that I left school and went and studied drama at what was called Cassio College in Watford. And so I lost a year, started all over again.
Cassio College, like the calculator?
It was called Cassio. No, it was a double S, C-A-double-S-I-O. And it's no longer there. It's not. It's flats now. Stopped me A-levels at school. I was hating them anyway. I wasn't a scientist. And I don't know why I was doing computing at A-level. I scraped through my O-level because I enjoyed programming my old ZX Spectrum. Then I realised that I wasn't a nerd and I couldn't do it. And I thought I can act. I'll go to drama college and I'll start with an A-level in drama. So I went and did A-levels in English, politics and drama. Midsummer Night's Dream at school that really got me into it. I thought I was pretty funny, actually, and that was where I discovered that, I didn't have a particularly funny part, but I turned it into, the only way I could actually succeed in it was in sort of like with humour. And I remember at one point, because I played the part of Lysander, who's one of the lovers, and I had to snog this girl. And her name was Fiona. She was very pretty, and I was very pleased to be able to snog her. So I was in love with this girl.
That was your first part.
That was the first part.
I remember I have to snog this really pretty girl. For this part. This is definitely.
But we didn't rehearse the snog.
Oh.
And we didn't know that we were going to snog. We rehearsed obviously for weeks before the play, and then just on the night of the opening night. The head of English who was directing the play came up to me. His name was Mr. Black Hawkins, Hugh Black Hawkins, and he said, "Simon, that first scene with Fiona needs a bit of passion. Just give her a good long kiss. Give her a good long kiss. Lovely girl. Give her a. Why not? You know where to do it. Just in that bit. Just." Stop what you're saying and just give her a really good kiss. And I said, okay, yeah, I will. And so I went and told her this is what we've got to do, and she was fine with that. So because we quite liked each other, Gracie, so it was quite nice. Yeah. And so we said, well, we better practice, haven't we? And I
that's a dream job. Yeah. You're like, do you know what? I don't want. There's something about this acting that's really. I'm feeling this. Every ounce of me.
But I didn't. I knew that I didn't really need to practice. Yeah, because
Yeah, you had it all. You knew.
Yeah. But
how old were you then?
60.
So you knew everything then.
Yeah, I knew all about it.
Yeah,
but I thought it was maybe for her benefit we ought to just practice. So we disappeared, just around the corner, and but it suddenly became very awkward. It got all giggly. I think we didn't snog. We just snogged on stage in front of like 300 people. my grandma and grandpa were there, and I was sort of like I was just watching them out the corner of my eye while I was. And they seemed quite happy about it. It didn't unnerve them, but it went on too long. Our snog was too long for the first night. That was a Thursday. Friday we cut it down a bit. It was still nice, and we didn't. And then Saturday we had a good snog on Saturday. It was the final night, and I thought we may never snog her again. So we had a good old long snog on Saturday. Yeah, that was quite bizarre, and we didn't ever snog again, even though we quite liked each other. It was clearly off stage; it just wasn't going to happen. It just sort of like, it just got giggly and awkward, so we never did it. And I didn't need to. Didn't need to. So.
You needed the extra motivation of 300 people watching you to do it.
Yeah,
it wasn't enough. It
was that kind of. I think that's it. I'm probably like one of those people who goes on a reality TV program. Maybe a Big Brother or something. And would form a relationship simply for the cameras, and it's not about the relationship; it's about me. And I think that was what our relationship was. It was really about me. Because I'm an attention seeker, and that's why I'm in comedy, I suppose. Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to say about that play, actually, because funny, it comes back to me, because it was at that point, my acting it took a while for me to really sort of like get into it. It was a good 2 or 3 weeks, and I know that they were probably regretting having given me the part. And then I suddenly clicked, and I suddenly realised, actually, I think I can do this. And part of it was when the same guy, Mr. Black Hawkins, he said to me, Puck drops this love potion onto your eyes. Lysander, he gets duped into waking up and falling in love with the first person he sees. So poor old Fiona, I binned her because Puck had done me eyes, and so I woke up and I fancied this other girl, and I can't remember her name, but I didn't get to snog her on stage. But what I did do, I started groaning. He said to me, start moaning, just start groaning, just sort of like. and it was.
Go on,
so
gotta do it.
I woke up and there she was. She was kind of... The character is in love with Lysander already, naturally. Obviously. Mm-hmm. And I just woke up and I just started... And she was blah, 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 you mock me, sir. And I just really, I love that. I love the fact that, you know, I didn't have to say anything, I just had to groan. And I realised, you know, that's what comic timing's all about, because, you know, obviously, you know, the audience heard it first of all and they thought, that's hilarious. He's just moaning. And then they're anticipating more. And I just remember on the Saturday night, I really went overboard. And I knew that I'd overstepped the line, and I just started, and I got so into making these noises. And she was, but sir, but Lysander, no, Hermia is your love. And then I was just...
You've gone from passionate love to taking a shit.
It wasn't that. These were my love groans. Don't judge me.
I'm sorry.
Don't judge me.
You judge me, sir.
These were my love groans. But the trouble is that I then started doing them out of place. By Saturday night, I was just so into it.
That's so
and I think I actually started groaning in just completely the wrong places. And there was one or two moments, and I just thought, actually, that's not funny anymore. But I just wanted to do it.
Oh, brilliant.
Someone came up to me afterwards and said, you got a bit carried away, didn't you, with your groaning? Yeah, I suppose I did. Did you notice? It was just the one groan that was just misplaced.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The devil takes it sometimes, though, doesn't it? Here we go. I wonder if I could just tweak that just a little bit, just push it a little bit beyond that. Oh yeah, that's too much. The joy. That's great.
And then I decided I was going to be famous that way, and I was going to be an actor. But it turned out I wasn't actually that motivated or driven to. You know, I really enjoyed doing A-level drama, and then I failed to get into drama school, and I didn't really like the scene. Well, once I realised, you know, actually I don't really like actors. I think comedians are so real, but I think you're much, much more likely to see the real person in the comedy world than in the acting world. So I wasn't really that driven to be an actor, but I was desperate to perform, to sort of see where I could go on this whole. And then I did actually dabble in stand-up years before I ever sort of took it a bit more seriously, and that was in the 90s.
Where was your first gig?
It was in my first gig was actually where Jongleurs is in Camden. It was Dingwalls on Camden Lock, and my friend Jason had hired the whole place, and he wanted to put on this club night, and he put on like it was a charity event, I think. I can't remember exactly, but it was basically they put on a fashion show. And they had some live music. He said to me, do you want to do some comedy? And so I said, yeah, I do. Because I'd been talking to him about trying out stand-up. And he said, well, do you want to do it? And I tell you, I was petrified when it came to it. But I thought, because I'm a funny actor, I'll be able to do some sort of character thing, and I'll wear a hat. And that'll be funny in itself. And I had quite long hair then. I mean, I haven't always had long hair, but I had quite long hair, and I just sort of like had this little hat. Hair was just a bit longer than bob length, and it was just sort of like popping out the sides, and I just thought, I'm just going to look such a character. I'm going to be so funny. People will just laugh as soon as I go on stage with the hat, with the hair popping out the side, and of course they didn't. But I mean, like, it was funny because I thought it was funny. So I suppose it was funny for all the wrong reasons. But I got through it because I'd worked quite hard on it. That was my first ever gig, and I'd worked quite hard on it, and I got through it. And I had some friends in the audience, and enough of them laughed all the way through. But it wasn't like your standard first gig in an open mic place. It was like this is Dingwalls, this is what is now the Jongleurs stage in Camden, proper comedy venue. It was properly mic'd up as well, and everything was brilliant lighting. It was a proper gig, and I gave me best shot. So different from acting. I mean, like, you go on stage and you're staring at people who are expecting you to make them laugh, and you're just thinking, actually, I can make people laugh, but you got to do your bit as well. And it was actually. There's a reality that, no, they don't have to do that bit. You have to spoon feed them everything. You have to give them every reason to make them laugh. And you don't actually expect them to give anything back. And if they do give you something back, then you're going to have a great gig. But if they don't, and if they want to stand and judge, because they were all standing, there was no seating, it was just sort of like the whole place was just packed with people who, I don't know why, it wasn't a proper comedy venue. It was just like a big open dance floor with a stage and so on.
Feels even more like they should have torches and pikes when they're all standing facing you. Even more relaxing for you. Your first gig. That's it. They're not even sitting down. You haven't even got like that split second of
I've never even thought about it, but maybe the fact that they were standing was actually even more unnerving,
even more threatening. They're ready to go.
I was on a high stage. I was on a quite high stage. It was all right, but
could have taken a couple of them out before they got you.
Yeah. And then the same guy, Jason, ran another in a much more intimate venue in Clapham, a place called the Tea Rooms des Artistes, and I don't know if that's still around. Tea Rooms des Artistes, and it was a very small venue, and again it was just sort of like a bit of live music, a bit of live comedy, and probably a DJ. I did my second gig for him, and that was a bit better, and I'd learned a thing or two between the first and second gig. Wasn't great. I always wanted to do different stuff. I'd never wanted to just sort of like write jokes that didn't have any meaning, really. And so my comedy was always kind of quite anecdotal and a bit off the wall. And I don't know how successful it was, really. But I never did the comedy circuit at all in the 90s. Literally. 1 or 2 gigs, maybe 3 gigs in the 90s.
Did you have comedy first, then the music, or was it the music first, then comedy?
I think it was probably a little bit of music, a little bit of comedy, and a poet. I remember a poet as well. We know now, those nights can be frightening. If you're doing comedy and it's just comedians, it's straightforward. You know what you're getting. I mean, every crowd is always different. You're never going to get the same reaction for your set. You do know roughly where it's going to go and how it's going to work out. But if you followed on from a musician or a spoken word artist or a disco or a raffle, then you never know exactly what kind of mood the audience is going to be. Well, I do quite a lot of MCing now anyway, so I like to chat to the crowd. Those gigs then, I mean, I wasn't anywhere near able to talk to the audience. So it's a wonder that they weren't a complete disaster. I haven't spoken to anyone about those days. I'm not really in touch with the people that I hung out with then, but yeah, I mean, I don't remember them as totally disastrous. My first gig in the noughties, which was when I came back to comedy like years and years later, was a total disaster. That was a 5-minute spot in a Laughing Horse gig in a pub in the West End called the Blue Posts, I think.
It's closing it.
2005, it was Halloween night. I rocked up at this place because I'd spoken to the promoter and I said I want to do a gig and I'm really funny. And he said, well, and this was in a gig. I met him in a gig in Shepherd's Bush Road in a basement bar called it was just called the Brook Green Hotel. I met this guy who was running this sort of semi-pro night there, and I thought, this is my level. I'll be able to do this. And they were all sort of like doing 10, 15 minutes. It was only sort of like 5 or 6 on the bill. I just chatted to the guy afterwards and said, can I get on the bill, please, sometime soon? I'm starting out in comedy. And he said, have you done any comedy before? And I said, no, not for a while. He says, well, I can't put you on here, but I can put you on at this place, the Laughing Horse and the Blue Posts. Come along on Monday night, I'll give you 5 minutes. And I said, all right, cheers. And I brought a posse with me because I was going to be amazing and they were going to love it. Oh man! Me and Joe had been travelling and I'd had some ideas in my head about Eastern Europeans in Speedos. If you go abroad, Eastern Europeans generally are more likely to wear Speedos rather than decent swimming shorts. I found it amusing, and I thought that I'd probably be able to get up on stage and make it amusing, but I hadn't really worked out exactly what it was I wanted to say about it, except that these men were middle-aged, they had moustaches and big bellies, and they were very proud of their Speedos. I knew that there was humour in there, but should have had some jokes worked out. And so they stared at me, and it was like, actually, here I am in London, late October, nearly November. No one's really thinking too much about being on a beach in Eastern Europe, and it isn't funny. And they're just staring back at me, and I was just sort of like, yeah, actually, this isn't funny. And that's when I started chatting to the audience, and I started actually getting a bit more laughter once I actually sort of like realised and acknowledged that I'd more or less died in front of them. And I said, let's talk about Roman Abramovich. Because there was a bloke who was sitting in the front row who looked like Roman Abramovich, and he'd been snogging his girlfriend all night. And so it had been a bit embarrassing for everyone, so we talked about that. And then people laughed a bit more then. And I managed to almost save face, but I was devastated really, because it was a pretty shit 5 minutes.
That's the first gig back after 10 years.
So I never really did it properly before. I was never doing the comedy circuit. I was just trying my hand at stand-up in a kind of variety night. So yeah, it was my first gig and it was a disaster, and I stayed in bed for about 4 days after that. Yeah. And I thought I was spooked, and I should never have done it on Halloween night. I thought, that's what it was. Yeah. I thought I've gone out and gigged on the Devil's Night. Why would I do that? But then I started taking responsibility for the fact that I was rubbish and I needed to write some jokes. Yeah. And my next gig after that was all right. Yeah. It was all right. Yeah. It was a lot better. Yeah. And one of the guys, bless him, who came along to that first gig I did at the Blue Post, he came along to this second gig. He still believed in me, even though it must be so horrible to go and support a friend and watch them just die. I mean, it's horrible watching people die on stage. You know, for him to have come along for the second time, for the second gig, and he gave me very good feedback and very honest feedback, and he said, you know, that was a whole lot better. Well done, and it was so that was it. That was progress.
What do you do to get yourself out of that kind of state of, oh God, I died so hard last night? What is it you do?
Well, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore, really. I go to sleep, and I wake up the next day, and then I remember, and if it's a really bad one, I feel quite bad. It's like when Watford lose. You know, Watford got trashed 6-1 by Liverpool earlier in this season. I woke up the next day feeling as bad about that as I would after a bad gig. And it wasn't even my fault. They're just my team. It's not to say I don't care about Watford getting trashed 6-1 by Liverpool. It's just that I woke up, thought, oh, did that really happen? Oh. And then you just have to get it out of your mind and you get on. I don't let it bother me anymore, but you know, which should be a really noble thing, and it should be sort of like, and that is the secret of my success. But there's been no success, Winter. Oh, no. Here I am. Oh, no. But it's not true. It's not true.
It's like a hangover, though, isn't it? Yeah, it's like when you died so hard, like there's that little, like when you see someone who might be dying on stage, or you see a piece of acting on TV, you go, oh, that's the worst thing I've seen on you know, those hairs on the back of your neck stand up. You're like, oh, this is terrible. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. And you have that only about yourself when you're thinking back about that gig, and it stays for a while. It is like a.
Well, I do. What
do you do to get rid of that? What do you do? Just go to sleep? Is that what you do?
No. I mean, like, you do have to learn, obviously, and I'm in recovery still.
Right.
From the worst death I've ever had on stage, which was the first Edinburgh show that I ever did on my first solo show, my one and only solo run at Edinburgh. I did a couple of previews in London, which isn't nearly enough, because people will start previewing their Edinburgh show, as soon as, they'll start previewing it in January, some people. I don't gig prolifically, and I didn't really know how to go about getting loads of previews booked up in London. I'd worked fairly hard on my show material. I've been teaming up with a guy, and was helping me to get some ideas together as well. So I was, it wasn't like I just had a whole load of ideas and I was just going to spew it all out one day. So I had worked on it, and I'd done a couple of previews in London, and the previews had gone okay, I thought, to a fairly supportive crowd on both occasions. And then I did my first show at Just the Tonic, the Tron, basement bar of the Tron. And then I took to the stage, August 2013, did my first ever solo show, and it was horrible. It was I just didn't bond with anyone. And I couldn't see anyone. I had the spotlights in my eyes. I didn't have I was supposed to have a preview at that venue, but didn't have any bums on seats for that. So so my first Edinburgh show was an utter disaster. I mean, I recovered from it. I had to get through 50 minutes. It was about 50 minutes of material, a bit more than that. And barely any laughter, really, for my solo show. You couldn't imagine a worse beginning to an Edinburgh run than that. And I allowed the press in. And I had a guy from the list in. And I think there may have been someone from the 3 Weeks was there as well, but they, bless them, didn't write up on the show. But the guy from the list did. And he gave me 1 star, which is what it was worth, that performance. But I managed to recover. Within a couple of days, I had another reviewer in who gave me 4 stars. So, total 5-star show. And I actually managed to get through the run and kind of enjoyed it. But that first show was so horrible. My dear wife was sitting in the front row trying to encourage me and trying to laugh in the right places. And Rosie, my friend Rosie Wilby, was there as well to support me, and she was trying to giggle as well. But it was just such an awkward time, and I don't know why. I still, to this day, I still don't know why it was such hard work. I mean, there's lots of reasons. So I can't say that I went to bed, woke up and just felt like Watford had just been bashed, because it wasn't like that. This was actually the start of my Edinburgh run. I'd put some money into it. I'd committed to being in Edinburgh for the whole month, and I wanted this to be a good springboard for the next phase of my comedy career. And in actual fact, it was more about surviving it than thriving on it. And I say I'm still in recovery from that experience to an extent. But I quickly managed to regain my confidence. Yeah, so quickly managed to do a decent show by a couple of days later, getting a decent review and plenty of good audience feedback. Lots of people saying, "Oh, really enjoyed it."
But you learn more from the deaths than the successes. So it's like that. In fairness, I know it's a horrible baptism of fire, but you hit the wall straight away and went, okay, there's only one place to go, and that's upwards. You got your review and started enjoying it. And you can also...
I suppose that's true. Yeah, I mean, I never thought of it in quite those terms. I never sort of thought, right, it can't get any worse than this, because it could have done. I could have just got savaged by more critics. I didn't read any reviews, and to this day I've never read that 1-star review. I just know that it's there.
Oh, right.
Because that's how and I wouldn't recommend not reading your criticism, because you got to deal with it, but I've left it too long now, so I'm not going to bother now. And it's not relevant, and that was then.
You've changed, and like everything's changed. It's like too old now, isn't it? It's like it's not gonna. You might laugh at it. You're like, well, you're fine, but it doesn't have any bearing on who you are as a performer or where you are in comedy right now.
No,
that's it. But I know that time is gone. It's time for everything, isn't it? And why flagellate yourself with that? I need all of the pain.
Yeah. Things can always get worse, because.
That's life.
I take your point in that. I could have just sort of like thought, okay, nothing to lose now, absolutely nothing to lose, just go for it. But I've never been free enough to do that. I think that's a great attitude if you can actually harness it. If you can harness a disaster, if you can take a failure and just do whatever you can to turn it into success as quickly as possible, then do it. But sometimes you just need to process it. And so I was processing it, but not energised by it, if you see what I mean.
I know what you're saying. Well, being a performer anyway, and doing stand-up, you know that you're always going to be creating and destroying. And as you go, it's either going to work or it's not. And if it doesn't work, well then you have the tools to make it better the next time. I get annoyed with myself with something, and I go, right, no. We're never happy. That's not happening again. Okay, we're locking into this.
Well, that's right, and I think you've got to acknowledge and regret things and allow and rather than just because for a long time I've sort of felt what's the point in regret? There's no point in regretting anything. I have no regrets, which is kind of a good thing, but actually, if you deny your regrets, then you're denying yourself an opportunity to really do something that an achievement that outweighs your regret. But on the other hand, there's various levels of regret. And I've never actually sort of like allowed myself to say I fully regret what happened. And I'm not sure how helpful it is to do that. But I probably regret allowing the press in. And it probably just changed everything. It changed the dynamics of the room. It changed my performance because I just put too much pressure on myself way too early in a show that had great potential.
Without that self-awareness, the regretting of that a situation in everything in life, you'll never learn. It's like yourself. There's lots of things I regret in just everyday life. I go, oh man, I wish I hadn't done that. There's that mentality of that. I think that's kind of built in when you're younger. No, don't regret anything. Just you did it. That's the most important thing. I did it. I did. Doesn't matter whether. No, that's not correct. That is not right. That's not how you should live your life. You should be aware of your failures and go, okay, I regret that. I can fix that the next time if that pops up. I'll face that and show that I'm responsible for that action in my life, rather than kind of going, it's better to have done it and not done it. No, that's not. You're not learning anything from that mantra. I've done it now. That's fine. Main thing. Off we go to the next problem.
I blame Robbie Williams.
Yeah,
didn't he say no regret? He sang a song. He probably didn't write it.
No, he didn't write it.
I blame Edith Piaf. Regret, I blame her. But I think it's all well and good to say I have no regrets, but you got to think about where you're going with that statement.
Yeah, that person's a massive arsehole.
I think that's what we're saying.
That's it. That's true. That is it. You're a Christian?
Oh yeah, I am. I'm scared of religion. I do have a very deep faith. So
does that come hand in hand?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've been brought up a Christian. I've taken a lot of time to work out what is real for me. I did a degree in English and theology and religious studies, largely because it was an easy course to get onto. Religious studies. I'd done very poorly in those A levels, and I somehow managed to get on a course studying religion and theology, and it was great to actually sort of look at what I'd been brought up with in the context of other world religions, and also to look at the philosophy of religion as well, and to actually just look at religion from a humanistic point of view, and to understand that there is such a thing as Christian humanism as well. So it's all kind of a long time ago now, the academic side of stuff, but I really grew as an individual just through studying and working out, what it was I really believed in, understanding that religion, I think, whatever religion it is, if it's kind of ritual, for me, it doesn't have a huge amount of value. I mean, like, you hear people talk about, I've got faith, it's a personal thing, and they don't necessarily want to talk about it. And I am a little bit like that, in that I am quite reticent to talk, because I think that people who, because I've been brought up in the church, I've seen so much of people, mouthing off about, what it is that you should believe, that I found it very off-putting to be like that. And also because I have been like that. I've made those kind of mistakes. Because when you do believe something passionately, and I do, I passionately believe the doctrine of Christianity. I do. But I'm so aware that it's got so much baggage, and it always has. It's not just because we're in 2017 that it's got baggage. It's always had baggage from an early age, because I was brought up to go to church, and my two older brothers were brought up to go to church, and my two older brothers said, no, we're not having this, I'm not going, weren't interested, and because I carried on going, partly out of loyalty to my parents, to be honest with you, but also because I actually somehow had this deep rooted belief that there was a God. I carried on going, and so I would try converting my brothers to my way of thinking. So I know what it's like to be a dick. That's what I'm saying.
Right, okay, to over try and sell it.
Yeah, to try and sell it. I have to be unashamed about it.
Yeah, that's.
And so, like I was saying to you before we started recording, I'm involved in running a church youth group, and I love it, and I'm not ashamed to tell people, I'm an active member of a church. There's nothing you can't ask me about it, but I do feel like
it's a very personal thing.
It is. Well, it has to be, obviously. It's a deeply personal thing. But I think that actually, I was saying about Graham Taylor earlier. I've no idea what it was he believed in. But, that guy's actions as a human being, the amount of people that talk about what a decent man he was, spoke louder than his achievements, even though, as far as Watford Football Club is concerned, his achievements were huge. But as far as the national game is concerned, he struggled. Whatever rhetoric he came out with, ultimately, the thing that we remember and we're thankful for with Graham Taylor, I'm speaking largely on behalf of Watford, but anyone and the family, but anyone who had a bit of respect for the guy was, him in his actions as a human being, the small things, the way that he related to people, the way that he actually took time out to be with people. I got a letter from Graham Taylor when we got married. Joe's a Derby County fan. I'm a Watford fan. My best man, Buck, and still is a bit of a Watford fan. And he wrote to Graham Taylor and said, I'm going to be best man, my mate's wedding. This is his name. His wife's name's Jo. She's a Derby County fan, but he's a passionate Watford fan. It would be just great if you could just drop him a line. And he knew that Graham Taylor was the sort of guy who would do that. And he did. He wrote us a letter, and it was read out at the wedding. It was a lovely little letter, just a bit of humour. Well done, Simon. I hear you're getting married. My spies are out. I hear you're marrying a Derby County girl. Well, she must be special if you're willing to marry a Derby fan, And it was sort of like, nice, you read that at the wedding, everyone giggles. Loads and loads and loads of anecdotes about him. He even turned up at someone's wedding to be best man because they'd asked him. This was a fan who he had no interaction with apart from shaking his hand once. And he turned up and he was best man for his wedding. And he built Watford into a community family club. And so the bottom line is what I'm saying is actions speak louder than words. And, whatever Graham Taylor's personal beliefs were, we know that he was a decent man. Whether he was much more than just a decent man, I don't know. When I say much more, whether he took took it to a spiritual level, I don't know whether he, but I do know that if my belief system is of any value, then it's not about talking about it too much. It's about being able to live it. That cliche of walk the walk, not talk the talk, and it's that basically. I'm sort of surprised that you threw it in there, because in comedy. In the comedy world, I don't talk about it much, and people don't ask me about it. People I've mentioned on stage. I do this joke. Because I was brought up a Christian, and my mum said to me, marry a good Christian woman. And I was in a bar and I met this girl and I really liked her and I wanted to marry her. And I said to her, "Are you a Christian? Because I want to marry you." And she said no. She said, "I used to be a Christian, but now I'm Christina." and I do this joke, and it's sort of like, well, okay, that's a joke, and it's just me being flippant about what I've been brought up with. Doesn't say too much about what I believe now, but it's just a joke about gender. It's just a joke about a transsexual. It's nothing more than that. Really, and it's just wordplay. But people never sort of like ask me anything more about it. Sort of like, and I very rarely talk beyond that in comedy, because it's I've found it very difficult to write any comedy about belief. I think there's some amazing comedy out there, that is about sort of poking fun at religion, which is good, because I do think that religion needs to be laughed about. It's hilarious, and I think Jesus was not a religious character, and he found religious people funny when he wasn't shouting them down, So I think religion is funny, but I haven't personally found it possible to sort of like make it. For me, I haven't got there yet, to that point where I can write about it and joke about it and laugh about it. I think it's a very, it is a deeply personal thing. But I am very, very happy to talk about it to people who are interested, because. But I'm very unhappy to talk about it and shoehorn it in if people don't want to talk about it, because what's more annoying than forcing your beliefs on people, which is effectively what you're doing. And when you're a comedian with a microphone, you've got to be careful about what you're dishing out. We have a responsibility. And so for me, I could be a whole lot bolder and a whole lot cleverer about it. But so I kind of play it safe, really, with the comedy. And certainly I am passionate about it, As I say, relationships are the most important thing in my life, and relationship with God rather than religion. Well, I mean, there's that classic line in the Gospels where Jesus says, do unto others as you'd have done to yourself. I mean, it's sort of like he's basically saying, in all things, it's in the context of prayer, actually, and what you ask for and what you expect to receive. God is, Jesus is effectively saying, God is good, and he will give good things, and therefore you be good. Because, but it's rooted in relationship. It's not a, I mean, the word law is definitely there in the Bible, but, it's not a word I'm that keen on, really, but it's the law of love, which is that we are loved, therefore we love. That's the law that I'm most interested in, or try and live by. Okay.
And there's a Christian circuit, though, isn't there?
I've got nothing to do with that.
No, you don't go on the Christian circuit. I'm just not. Why?
I'm just not comfortable with it.
Really?
I think there's some really, really funny Christian comedians, but I just haven't ever pursued any kind of Christian comedy. I mean, like Milton Jones is a Christian. He's brilliant. Tim Vine, superb. Miranda, I think, is a Christian. Famous people who've made money out of it. Milton and Tim, really clean comedians, really sort of like play it very safe about the kind of stuff they do, and typically it's all kind of wordplay and one-liners and puns, and that's their style, and I've got enormous respect for the way they've done it. I'm not really much of a sort of one-line kind of merchant, and I'm more of a sort of storyteller and surrealist, maybe. I don't know, a bit of an observationist. You can do comedy and be a Christian, but what's the point in some kind of cliquey little circuit within a circuit? I'm not into that. But, you know, having said that, you know, if people want to go to a gig in a church, that's fine. To be honest with you, no one's really asked me to do it anyway. I've done the Greenbelt Festival thing, which started off as a very Christian event, but has, over the years, has become an arts festival where all sorts of musicians and artists and speakers from all sorts of persuasions will come and be given a stage. And it is traditionally a Christian event. It's traditionally like a Christian festival. And you'll get a bishop, an archbishop there and all sorts, you know, giving, you know, leading seminars and so on. But you'll also have Peter Tatchell there talking about gay rights, and he's very, very famously targeted the church for he's perceived as homophobia. So it's a place which will give a stage to all sorts of people and persuasions. But and I've done stand up at Greenbelt just in there, sort of just done sort of like 10-minute slots there, but I haven't done that for years.
Like, you're very warm on stage and you're high energy.
Sometimes. Oh, people typically say I'm laid back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But thank you for saying that, because I'm trying to get away from being the laid back. But I started off wanting to be Jack D. He was the one who inspired me more than anyone at the time with regards to stand-up. You know, seeing Jack D and Joe Brand just doing what looks like low-energy, grouchy comedy was, to me, these people have got something to say because they're miserable bastards. And I just thought, that's what I want to do. That I could do that. I could go on stage and just sort of like literally stand there and snarl. And I reckon if Jack D can do it, I can do it. And so I started off thinking that that was the way to go. And people did say, oh, well, you're very relaxed on stage, very, very laid back. Even Jack D and Joe Brand in the 90s, there was so much energy surrounding what they were doing. You know, there's no such thing as a successful low-energy comedian. It's just can't be done because they put everything into it, even if it's being very deliberately grouchy.
Have you done comedy for kids as well?
No.
You'd be great. I'm sure you'd be great at it.
I'm trying to be a bit funnier with the people the kids that I work with at the church. No, I haven't done comedy for kids, but if there's money in it and you think I could do it, then maybe I should look into that.
Professional clowns.
Yeah.
But we're not clowns.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. We're stand-ups, not clowns, but we are clowns. But we're not clowns. You know, this is the thing.
I think one of the things I've got to... You know, I don't think there's an age limit on this stuff, but I do think that as you mature... I'm still finding myself as a comedian, but at the same time, I think I've got to be aware that there's stuff that, you know, is going to be more suitable to the older you than the younger you. And I've got to work out what that is. I've got to move with it. We all have. I mean, but there comes a point, you know, so now that I'm in my 40s, mid-40s, to late 40s, getting, 47 this year.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll be, I've got to think about the difference between being high energy and being embarrassing dad. Alan Pardew, recently sacked by Crystal Palace. He danced in front of a camera last year this is, because I'm a Watford fan, okay? Watford were playing Crystal Palace at Wembley Stadium in a semi-final of the FA Cup. And Palace won. And I think it was the winning goal, and they caught him on camera just doing this dance, like just shaking his shoulders around and shimmying in front of the camera. And he's a middle-aged man, and everyone was sort of like, you shouldn't be doing that. And I think as comedians, we've got to do it with such conviction and be so sure of what we're doing that age doesn't matter, and we've got to be self-aware enough to know that there are some things that you don't do anymore. I don't know, but I haven't quite got there yet. But I'm working it out, and there's certainly material that you can't do once you reach a certain age. You know, I've only done stand-up since I've been married, so I don't have any stuff about, you know, the single market, dating on the internet. I don't have any material about that. So, and it would be totally inappropriate if I ever tried to do any stuff that I can't relate to it. I've got no experience of it. I mean, like I did a routine about our relationship with machines. And I was basically saying about, you know, the sense of self-checkout, the way it shouts at you, you know, unexpected items, you know, it's just prosaic stuff that everyone's thought about and lots of people have done material about, you know. But I was saying that my relationship with the Oyster card machine is very good because that's quick and easy, and it's like, you know, you get your credit card out, you whack it on there, you update your Oyster card, job done. Doesn't shout at you, nothing. It just says successful transaction, and then it says next time, why not try topping up online? And so I'm not telling this in a particularly funny anecdotal way, but the point is that my take on that was, if I'd been dating someone, you know, and I've really enjoyed that night, we'd gone out, we'd had a meal, and then I said, you know, it was lovely, and she said, next time, why not try Match.com? You know, it felt like that with the Oyster card machine, you know, because I enjoyed topping up on the Oyster card machine, and now they're saying next time try top up online, and it's sort of like, but I actually thought, but I don't even. You know, I've never even had experience of going on these days, so why should I be talking about it? Yeah. That's not an analogy that really works.
You can't relate
because it's not actually really me.
Yeah, a contrived.
Exactly. It is contrived. Yeah, exactly.
So what's in the pipeline for you? You're looking after your wife Jo at the moment. And what's in the pipeline apart from that? You're just going to.
Well, I really enjoy running a little gig fortnightly, so I'm going to carry on, crack on with that. I'm going to write a new show this year, I hope.
What's the name? Do you know the name yet?
It might be called God and Football. My first show, the disastrous, semi-disastrous, ultimately successful show, was called God, Greed and Football. And I'm dropping the greed because it was the serious bit, and I actually majored too much on that. But, you know, I'm fascinated by what people worship because I think that everyone worships something. And I think that there's huge comedy in it. And you see it very blatantly in football. You see it with Graham Taylor dying. You see that a Messiah has been lost, you know, to a certain band of followers. And, you know, I'm fascinated by the parallels between God and football, you know, actual religion and football. So I might revisit that, but I might not. I might actually not put myself under the pressure of having such a specific title, because that was part of my undoing, I think. Because when I talk about the show that I did, it was 2013. I don't think that show was a failure, but I look back on it, and it was 3.5 years ago that I did it, and I think the very fact that I haven't followed it up tells you something about my relationship with the solo show. You know, so I'm actually sort of like, I think what I've got ahead, what I've got in the pipeline, to answer your question, I don't see myself as a very natural club comedian, in that I don't like doing short spots in the same way that I enjoy going deeper with a subject. You know, I mean, obviously, if you can actually, you know, write a meaningful hour of stuff that is personal, and I didn't do that. You know, I was just cobbling material together before, material that I'd built up that seemed to fit into the theme God, Greed and Football. And I didn't write a personal show. I'd like to write a personal show and see if I can make that funny. And what else is in the pipeline? I think just sort of like upping my profile. Yeah, just getting my diary a bit bit fuller, really, and kicking on. I mean, I'm excited by it, even though it's been a long old journey. I'm excited by it because every now and again I stop and ask myself, am I doing the right thing? And should I do something else? And I just think, I can't do anything else. I'm totally incapable of doing anything else. This is the thing for me. I must be born to do this because I can't do anything else. So it's exciting.
Well, I think that's it, Simon. Simon Lilley, thank you for coming on the show. It's been great.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And that was Simon Lilley for episode 33. Yes, we made it to 33. I say, if you like this podcast and you want to follow us on Twitter, we're there at The Comedy Defect. If you want to follow me, it's at Winter Phone Under. But if you like this podcast enough that you feel like you should donate something to us, just find us on Patreon. Go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast. Donate as much or as little as you want. Or leave us a nice honest review. Share your favourite episode. Join the Facebook group so you know what's going on with the Comedy Defect Podcast. I've got a preview of my Edinburgh show coming up. It should be this week. The details of that are on my website, which is winterphoneander.com. So go check out that stuff there. I'm also going to be reading from the Guinness Encyclopedia, and those jokes and one-liners which I'll pull from that book will be on the internet, on Twitter, and that is encyclopedic jokes at Guinness Jokes, which I'll be doing this week. I've got a bit of time, even though the lists keep falling in my way, the gauntlet of lists. We're getting through it. But next week we've got a very funny guy. He's done loads of fringes. He's doing a really interesting show at the moment about Richard Nixon. It is Steve McLean. That is next week for episode 34. And that's it from us for now on the Comedy Defect Podcast. We'll see you next week for episode 34 with Steve McLean.